This is the ABQ Business Podcast with your host, Jason Rigby. Each week we'll interview visionary business leaders to inspire the creative power and spirit that's in every entrepreneur. Discussing strengths, weaknesses, strategies, systems, and the problems we can all solve together for a new future for local small business.
What is up, people of Albuquerque? This is Jason Rigby with the Albuquerque Business Podcast. Really excited. You're saying excited? I've been stuck in a house for 30 days. No, I'm really excited. We are starting to do some podcasts that will be over the phone. We have some really good business leaders that's going to be giving you some advice. We have real life business owners here in Albuquerque that are going to be talking about what's going on right now, the struggles that they're facing, leadership challenges, marketing challenges, system challenges, having to adapt. We're going to get into it pretty heavily, and I don't know how long this is going to last. I don't know if we're on the tail end of it, and May 1st will be golden. Whatever it is, I know that I hope that I can bring you some value. I hope that I can at least motivate you. If you're an entrepreneur, you're a business owner, I pray that you're hanging on. Even if you're hanging on by a small little thread, I pray that you're still hanging on and that you're just waiting this out until we know what's going to happen. I know I talked to a manager the other day, and he was talking about how difficult it is for motivation, and I want to get into that today. I want to talk about emotional intelligence. And there's 5 things on it. This is going to be a quick little podcast, but there's 5 things on emotional intelligence. It involves empathy, resilience, and vulnerability. And in emotional intelligence, and there's been lots of books on this, and you can look it up on eBay if you want to buy a used book like I do, or if you want to go on Amazon Kindle, I do that sometimes too, and type in emotional intelligence, you're going to get a ton. If you type in emotional intelligence leadership, you're going to get a ton on Google that you can read. It's really, really good. It's worth the time. I share this with my staff all the time. It's worth it to go over this because when you think of leadership, how many of you think of leaders having empathy, being resilient, and being vulnerable? Those are 3 things that none of us, if we really look back at leaders that we've known, I mean, some of you have been blessed and had good leadership, but I would say majority of us have had okay leadership or bad leadership, or we're demonstrating that. You know, that's something I talked to somebody the other day, and I was like, you're not being a good leader right now. I talk to business owners all the time, and they're freaking out in front of their employees. That's not the way to act, guys. And I did a podcast on that, you know, as far as being fearful and being afraid. I encourage you to listen to that one. But there are 5 major components of emotional intelligence. Number 1, I talk about this all the time. I study this all the time. This has helped me more than anything because you guys know my story from, and if you want to, if you can handle explicit language, go to my comedy one, listen to that with Sean Dean. I went into my suicidal attempts a long time ago and being homeless and then making it to where I'm at now in my life as an entrepreneur, as a business leader. And I encourage you to listen to that one. It's super funny. It's totally different, but at the same time, it goes into each of these aspects. But self-awareness, number 1. And that's understanding your own emotions and their impact on others. It's that simple. It's understanding your own emotions. What does that look like? In real life, it looks like this. Yeah, you're freaking out inside. Yeah, you want to go off on this employee, but you know that it's because of you and the experience that you had with the phone call that you're frustrated with the SBA loans that you have, or whatever it may be. Or maybe you just watched a whole thing on CNN or Fox News and now you're freaked out, or whatever it may be, and you just want to go off on this place. Self-awareness is to say, I need to know where this emotion is coming from before I go off on this person. Is it justifiable? What is the reason? And what is the impact it's going to have on this other person? Being self-aware is being able to pause like that, to make that moment real quick before you do something super stupid. And then you just look like an ass. You know what I mean? Self-awareness will keep you in your relationships, whether it's with your wife or partner, or whether it's with your children, or whether it's with family members that you love, aunts, uncles, moms, dads, whatever it may be, as a business owner, with your employees, with vendors, if you can become self-aware, especially when it comes to negotiation, this is where I found it to be tremendous. Is this person right now attacking me? Are they attacking what they're thinking that I'm thinking about this negotiation? And if I can distance myself from this and I can look at this logically, then maybe I can see where they're coming from. A pause and ask a question. Self-awareness is really easy that way. So this is what I do. Let's say we're negotiating and we're in conflict over something, and I'm trying to work with this vendor and I'm trying to get, a lower price. Let's say that. Or maybe, like a lot of you are extending out your bills now because you don't have any income coming in and you're trying to negotiate and the person's giving you a hard time. Well, it's really simple. If they're arguing with you, you need to stop. And instead of getting angry, ask them this. Here's self-awareness. What do you think your biggest concern is right now with this? Let them talk. Listen. Now it's time. This is negotiation. Now it's time for you to address that up front. So maybe they're saying, well, you've been late for 40 days on this bill, and I know it's COVID, but we're a business too, and we're trying to operate. Well, what can we do? Our business is shut down. What can we do to be able to come to a resolution on this? I understand where you're at. I know you're a business just like I am, but I have no income coming in. I'm waiting on these loans. How about this? Can I call you every week until we get this thing figured out? And if I keep in communication with you and I let you know right where I'm at, in fact, if you don't mind, I will email you the progress of where the loan is at and how it's going so that you know that the second those funds hit, that I'm going to be able to pay you. Does that sound fair? I know it's not the best situation, but I want you to know that I'm trying to be honest and upfront with you. That self-awareness, you're going to have a totally different conversation than if he's yelling and you're going back and forth and F you and I'll never do business with you again. I'll find somebody else. We're so emotion driven, and self-awareness turns around and says, I'm not going to allow this emotion because I don't understand where it's coming from right now, just for me to spew off and just to go off on someone when there's no reason. Because you're going to be hurt, you're going to be angry, you're going to be sad, you're going to be over happy, whatever the situation is. But you don't realize the impact that it has on others. I always picture, like, if I get angry and I want to go off on people, I always picture like a World War II dude with a flamethrower just laying waste to a forest and people in trenches. And I know that sounds horrific, but I have I was in the Marine Corps, so I have like a war memory, but we've all seen those flamethrowers are just, and they're just torching everything. They don't really care. It's just, and I picture that. It's like, how horrific would that be? And that's what we do when we don't practice self-awareness. Number 2 is self-regulation. Self-regulation is controlling your emotions and impulses and adapting to changing situations. Okay, what does that look like, Jason? Self-regulation is this. You're at that moment where you're having to control your emotions. You're at that moment where you have that impulse, and now it's time to adapt to the change. So you have an employee that comes to you and they say, I have a situation. You've cut my wages 50%. I know we're going through COVID. My wife is at home working. We're going to have to figure something out. This isn't working for me, working for you. Now self-awareness kicks in. Now here comes some self-regulation. So now you look at this person, let's say they're Tony. Tony, so what you're saying is this 50% of the wages that you're getting right now is not cutting it, and you're home with your wife and you're having to come to work. Is she nervous? Is she afraid? Does she not like the hours that you're working? Is there something that we could do to alleviate the stress, not only here at work, but with your family too? Because I want to make sure that both of you are extremely comfortable with this. I know the kids are home now, so do you need to spend more time helping them with their school online? What can we do to be able to help you so that you can be productive And I know we're working on trying to get these wages figured out. I know the situation that's right now is not the best, but you know as well as I do, I've been straight up with you and I've been honest with you, and this is where I'm at. See, that's a control of emotions and impulses. Now, what a lot of times does when an employee comes to you, because they're in their emotion, they don't know, they're just, afraid and not sure what's going on, and people's been cooped up, and the list goes on and on. So it is your time right now to turn around and say, okay, this is what I need to do to make sure that this person feels safe, number one. Number two is I need to show empathy. I need to show vulnerability, and I need to show resilience. We talked about that earlier. So self-regulation can be at the point. Now you can have this conversation. You can be like, F you, I've been trying to do all this stuff. I didn't have to pay you anything. I could have laid you off, and you haven't been working very much. You've been coming in late, and you seem stressed out, and you're not here. You're not present, and just go off on them. Totally two different conversations. Self-awareness and self-regulation go hand in hand. If you can take a second when you're feeling, I always judge it on a 1 to 10. Where am I at right now? I'm feeling like I'm at a 7. I feel like I'm going to an 8. I'm listening to this person. I'm getting to a 9. Okay. How do I get myself back down to a 4 or 5? What do I need to do to think about this? Maybe I excuse myself. Say, hey, I have to take this phone call. I need to use the restroom. I need to go get a glass of water. Can we have this conversation in 10 minutes? Can we have this conversation in a half hour, 30 minutes? I need to handle this really quick, and then I'd be more than happy to finish the conversation with you. Take that time. Self-regulation. It's your responsibility. Take that time to figure out and articulate how you can be empathetic towards their situation. It's not about you. There's so many narcissistic, and I talked about this earlier, there's so many narcissistic entrepreneurs. We have that in us, that nature in us, but people really don't care, guys. I keep telling people this. I'm going to give you a prime example. This may sound horrific, but I'm going to give you an example. We've all done this. Someone close to us passes away. We go to the funeral, we're crying. It's really tough. It hurts us. But you know how many of us would turn around a week from now, 2 weeks from now, a month from now? I've seen people do this a couple days after someone's passed away, and we sit there and we watch Netflix. We go to a restaurant. We live life. And we move on. So you're not that important. What's important is that you're serving others and displaying leadership in a time of crisis, which is what we have right now. With an economy that's unprecedented, with something that can be so horrific to the point that we don't know where the outcome of this is going to be and how long it's going to take to recover. I know we can see a lot of actions that governments are taking, and I know we'll be getting back to normal, I would imagine, in a week, 2, 3, a month from now, but we don't know the implications of this long term. So it's your responsibility as a leader to control your emotions and your impulses and adapt, be resilient, and adapt to the changing situation, because situations change daily. And it's your responsibility as a leader to adapt to those, and then lead your troops, lead your people in the direction of that change that you know that they're going to be safe, they're going to be motivated, and you're going to get the most production that you can out of them, at the same time loving and caring and being vulnerable. Okay, number 3, socialization. So we had self-awareness, self-regulation. Now we have socialization. Build rapport and have meaningful conversation with others. That's what socialization is. So build rapport. If you haven't took the time to know each of your employees intimately, like in the sense of who they are, what their situation is at home, they should feel a sense that they can, I'm not talking about being buddy friends. I'm talking about they should be able to come to you and say, hey, boss, I'm off today. I got an argument with my girlfriend, my boyfriend, and here's where I'm at. I just want to let you know I'm going to try my hardest. I'm trying to pull myself out of this, and then you turn around and say, hey, do you need to go make a phone call to them? Do you need to take off for the afternoon? Do you need to take off this morning? How about this? Why don't you go for a drive? And I'm going to give you my credit card, and you go get a Starbucks, and I want you to put some good music on, or if you want to be quiet, and here's my card, you go get me a coffee, go get you a coffee, and you take time to decompress. And then when you come back, we'll drink this coffee together. And if you want to talk about it, that's fine. We can. If not, then we'll move on and we can do whatever is comfortable for you. You're going to see a totally different outcome. They're going to come back and bring you a coffee and they're going to be like, thank you so much, boss. I don't know where I was at. I kind of lost my head. That is having a meaningful conversation with somebody. So many times, especially if you're in sales, guys, if you're in sales, and we always talk about build rapport, and I get that, but meaningful conversations is where it's at. How's Susan doing? How's your daughter doing, Bill? Those are meaningful conversations. You can be like, hey, Bill, how's it going? Well, I wanted to talk to you about this PDF that I sent over to you that has a proposal in it. And I kind of wanted to go through page 3 because we weren't very clear on it the other day. There's a time for that. Yes, there is. But that first part has to be a meaningful conversation where you're concerned about the other person and who they are. And I know in times of crisis like this, we get into system mode, we get into survival mode, and we forget about everyone around us because all we're focused on is just surviving. But you have so much potential around you. I want you guys to listen to this. You have so much potential around you with the people that can help you. People will sacrifice if they know that there's a great cause. If you say, hey, employees, I need to have a conversation with all of you. I've been working on getting this payroll money. We're working on it. We're going to pay you when that comes in. Right now, we're going to have to be here, here, and here. But I want to let you know, you guys have been doing amazing. I know we're going through this crisis and it's stressful for all of us. I need help, guys. And here's what I need help in. Here's the problems that we're facing. I know we lost about 50% of our sales. I know we're down 8 people. But I have this client and this client and this client, and they're still wanting this, this, and this. And I have this proposal to get out. And I have the ability to be able to get these things done. And it's going to bring a little bit of extra income and it's going to be able to help us out. But we've got a week to do this. How would you figure this out? You need to ask them that question. You need to have a meeting and you need to ask them. Don't come up with all the answers all the time. Even if you know the answer, let your team come up with the answer. Because then they take ownership. When they take ownership, they take pride in it and they will sacrifice for you. Trust me, your people will sacrifice for you. They know it's a crisis. They want a place to belong. They want to feel safe. If you can provide that, they'll sacrifice for you. Not everything's about money. And if you make it about money all the freaking time, then you're going to end up being Scrooge with nothing but a vault full of gold coins and no one to talk to and no one that is happy with you, and you're going to die old and you can't take any of that with you anyways. I've never seen people taking their gold coins all around them. Even, Egypt, they would put all these gold things into the, they would mummify people, but they're dead. You can't take that stuff with you. You're not going to be able to take a gold coin into the afterlife. So you guys have to understand having meaningful conversations with your team, meaningful conversations with your employees. That should be the number one thing that you do when you come in the morning or in the afternoon. Whenever you come in, you need to take the extra time during this crisis to make sure everybody's happy and feels safe and show that you care and that you're concerned. If Bill wants to talk to you about a concern that he had that he listened to on the news, listen to him and then turn around and bring logic to that. Always bring logic to fear. Number 4 is empathy. Empathy is to determine and appropriately respond to others' emotions. Do not dismiss people's emotions. I see this over and over and over again. People's actually sharing something that's important to them. You're like, you don't understand what's important. You don't understand what I have going on. That's not the conversation to have with them. When they come to you and they share something, stop what you're doing. I love this trick. I had heard it a long time ago. And it's a great one if you're a leader. Someone comes to you and say, I really need to talk to you, boss. I have this big concern. Get on the phone, call your receptionist, call your secretary and say, hey, I need to have no calls. Just do this automatically. I need to have no calls for 20 minutes. Shut your door and have a conversation with them. Put everything down, put the cell phones away, and look at them straight, look at them in their eyes, and have a meaningful conversation with them. That's responding appropriately to a person's emotions. When someone is showing emotion to you, they're being vulnerable to you, and you as a leader have an opportunity to make a connection by having a meaningful conversation with them. They will respect you 100 times more if you listen to them. You may disagree with them and tell them that. So Bill comes to you and he keeps freaking out because all he's doing is watching CNN or Fox News, and he's a Republican or a Democrat, and he's got that slant and that view, and that's all he's doing, and he's riling up the other employees. Well, now you got a problem. So how do you work that one out? Well, you're going to have to pull Bill into your office, and you're going to have that meaningful conversation. And you need to say, hey, Bill, I know you're Republican. I know you're Democrat. I know you're listening to all this stuff on CNN or Fox News, and I get that, and I know you're into this. But you're running around and talking to other employees and you're scaring them. You're making the situation not good. So let me ask you this, Bill. How could we be positive and productive in the workplace? And how could you do that? How could you discriminate that? And is there anything that I can do that can help you out in doing that? Totally different conversation. Now what's happening? You're responding to that person's emotions, and then they're going to turn around and they're going to be like, the majority of people, if you've hired good people, Bill's going to look at you and go, I'm so sorry, boss. I've been caught up in this, and and I've got this and this going on, and my family member in Washington State is this, and I've got another friend of mine in Kansas, and they're this, and I've just gotten caught up into it, and I'm really sorry. And they're going to apologize to you if you ask them that way. I know I need to be a little bit more positive. Be like, yeah, I just don't want the politics here in the workplace. What we need to do is focus on being safe, making sure our employees are safe, making sure people that engage within our business is safe. And if we're distracted by these outward things, then we're not going to be able to focus internally on what we need to do to accomplish the goal that we need to accomplish now in this crisis. Does that make sense to you, Bill? I hope it does. Okay, perfect. Thank you. See, that is empathy. You have to appropriately respond to others' emotions. When you see emotion, it is an opportunity. Guys, when you see emotion from one of your leaders, from an employee, it is an opportunity for you to display leadership. And if you're self-aware and you're self-regulated and you have socialization with that meaningful conversation, guess what? It's going to come out with empathy. And then number 5 is motivation. This is one of my favorites. I mean, if it was self-awareness and motivation, that's probably where I would be at. I'm constantly working on having meaningful conversations, responding to other people's emotions, because I can just get so motivated by something that I'll run into and I'll be like, let's have a meeting. Let's do this. This is so exciting. I want to be here. Let's go here. Here's a whiteboard. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na. But motivation is this: drive, will, morale, or enthusiasm, take or complete an action. It's that simple. Drive. What's drive? Drive is that grit. And many of you have done that. Maybe I think a lot of us have gotten soft over the years because we've had this bull economy and everything's been doing good. And now we have this situation. What's the drive? A drive is like, hell no. I'm not allowing this circumstance to affect me or my business, and this is what we're going to do. And that leads us right into drive and then will. It's the will to overcome, regardless of the situation. That's why if you know what you need to do? After you finish listening to this podcast in just a few minutes, you need to put 300, the movie, on. You watch that movie and you're going to get a whole new appreciation of the first 300, not the second one, but the first one. Watch that with Gerard Butler. Watch that movie. Your wife will love it because there's abs everywhere and amazing men with big beards. That's always awesome. But that movie will pump you up. It'll show you what motivation is. A willingness to go the extra and beyond, knowing that the circumstances are not even close to being ideal. But we have a drive, and we have a will, and we have the morale, and we have the enthusiasm to complete the action to the best of our ability, even at the point of death, even at the point of losing. That's what motivation is. So how do you get drive, will, morale, enthusiasm? First, you need to get it inside of yourself. And that's what I'm saying. I guarantee you, go watch Troy, go watch one of these movies. They always pump me up. 300, watch it. Get in that mindset. Get in a warrior's mindset. And say to yourself, this is what I'm going to do. I'm done with watching the news. I'm done with freaking out. I'm done with being afraid. Here's where I'm at. As long as we're safe, we're moving in this direction. That gives you enthusiasm. That is going to give you the drive that you need, and that is going to change the morale all around you. When a leader gets excited like that, I told you guys about Winston Churchill, where he'd go on the planes would be flying overhead, German planes, and he would go up on the building in his pistol and he would just shoot at the planes in front of people and people would cheer. He's not going to shoot a plane down with a pistol. But it was that whole idea of just that recklessness of saying, I don't give a damn. I am England. We will stand to the last minute. And that's what they did in 300. And that's where you see great leaders. You stand to that very last minute, to the end, where you say, screw it. This is where we're at. This is what we're doing. And then you take that drive, that will, that morale, that enthusiasm, and you complete the action. You execute. And watch your team perform. It is so amazing to see morale. It is so amazing. And you're like, Jason, how can I build morale? I saw the other day somebody had a Zoom meeting where they had different types of hats. And everybody had to wear hats or everybody had to wear costumes. There's tons of ways. Go on to Google and type in, how do I build morale? You're going to get so many, have surprise deliveries of pizza brought to people's homes. There's so many ways to do morale, guys. There's so many ways to build it. If you don't have any money, like I said, hop on a Zoom call with your employees. Talked to someone the other day and they were saying every day at 9 o'clock to get the day started, they've been having a Zoom meeting. Whether it's 30 minutes, 45 minutes, that's what they do to get their employees started, to get moving in the direction. Because as a leader, distance should not cause that issue. I don't know if you haven't heard of, there's a general, and Stanley McChrystal, hopefully I'm saying that name right. He's wrote a lot of leadership books. You guys can correct me on it. But he talked about, how do I get all my special forces teams, from the Marine Recon to Navy SEALs to the Army Rangers to the Army Green Berets to the Air Force, how do I take all these people with all these different trainings and all these different types of ideologies with each group, and how do I convey a message that gets them to where they're all on the same page? Well, you know what he decided to do? A video every day, and everyone had to watch it, and then he outlined exactly where they needed to go, what the mission was, and then he also went out on the front lines as a general to show the troops. I mean, they'd be getting shot at, and he'd be right there. Here I am. I understand where you're at. Plus, he got a lot of information from that. You go talk to an E5 as a general, and he tells you, well, here's where we're stuck. Here's what's going on. You're going to get a different perspective than you will from your colonel's spoon feeding you information sitting from a desk. Big difference. Guys, emotional intelligence right now is one of the most important things that you can do as a leader. Be self-aware, self-regulate, have good socialization, show empathy, be motivated. I guarantee you, your people will love, respect, and appreciate you as a leader. And then when we get through this, you're going to have loyal employees that will love you and go above and beyond what you could ask or even think that they could do. Guys, I encourage you, if you have not subscribed to the Albuquerque Business Podcast, go to Google, go to Apple, go to YouTube. I encourage you, subscribe, but it's more than that. I want to get the word out because I want to help Albuquerque business leaders. I don't make any money off this. I just do this. We have sponsors, and the sponsorship pays for the programs and doing things and having the editing done and all that. But there's no money extra that's going into my pocket on any of this. I want to be able to have this as a gift that's given to the business leaders here in Albuquerque. And I want you guys to be those that share that to help others. If you get something out of this podcast, please share it. That's the number one thing that you could do for me, is to share this podcast. I'm not asking for money. I'm not asking for anything. Give to your local charities, give to local businesses. And if you want to do something that's extremely special, share this on your social media platform. Ask other people to download it. If you know somebody that's going through a situation and they especially want to talk about something that they've learned through this process, I would love to have them on the podcast. Tomorrow, I'm going to be doing 3 podcasts in a row where I'm going to be talking on the phone with business leaders, and we're going to be going through these certain crises. And I encourage you guys, always keep your head up. Be the leader that you know that you can be. Be self-aware, self-regulate, socialize, build meaningful conversations, have empathy and motivation. And until next time, a couple days, I will be out. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thank you for joining us on the Albuquerque Business Podcast. And thanks to our sponsor, RigbyDigital.com. Make sure to subscribe and share. And go to abqpodcast.com. Get show notes, resources, and links to everything we talked about today to help you navigate your journey as an entrepreneur and business owner.